Alexa Clay forscht, spricht und schreibt über Innovation und technologischen Wandel. Für die Co-Autorin des Bestsellers The Misfit Economy ist Konversation ein zentrales Mittel, um die Welt von heute zu verstehen. Außenseiter wie Künstler, Piraten und Einsiedler faszinieren sie und bieten Inspiration für ihre Arbeiten. Clay zeigt auf, was Unternehmer und CEOs von Subkulturen und Kriminellen lernen können. Alexa Clay, what can we learn from pirates, hackers and gangsters for our economy, for our businesses?
Yeah, I think the point behind the misfit economy was essentially to say that there are all these incredible entrepreneurs within the informal markets, within the black market economy, that these markets total over $10 trillion, over 70% of GDP in some countries. And so what can we be inspired by from some of their activity, rather than just seeing them as deviant or as maybe morally wrong for being criminals?
Is it what they do or how they do it?
It's a bit of both. I mean, if you look at the history of some of these kinds of actors, for example, they were the first to create new forms of democracy. You know, aboard pirate ships, you had democracies that were created before they were created in Western Europe. If you look at video streaming technology, that owed a lot to pornography and those types of websites. If you look at franchising, it's readily associated with McDonald's, but it's more often, you know, the mafia or Hell's Angels groups that were using some of those practices earlier on.
Let's talk about some of the techniques that our CEOs of our Swiss companies that are in the auditorium today, what they can learn, 2 techniques they can adopt.
So one that we talked about today was around the spirit of hustling, just that dogged determination to succeed, that ability to take risks, to manage unknowns and ambiguity. And I think you see that throughout misfit economies. And so how do we apply that spirit of hustle to mainstream institutions? How do we develop more agile and entrepreneurial ways of working within corporations?
Is that possible also at a larger scale?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we're seeing now this kind of fetish for startups within big organizations, or what can big organizations learn from startups. And so I think you see more and more hunger for that, where people feel like actually these organizations aren't moving fast enough, that many of them will become extinct if they don't adopt some of these methods.
What was the second technique you spoke about today?
I think one of the biggest angles that we can look at is copycat behavior. So how is open innovation going to completely transform companies today? I think so often R&D is something that's privatized, but if we take a more open source approach to innovation, what would that look like? What would it look like if companies were sharing IP with each other? Then I think we would see much more ready adoption, that innovation would happen in a much more accelerated way. And that's something that you see all over, you know, the slums and market towns in Shenzhen in China and in Brazil and things like this.
All right, great. Alexa Clay, thank you so much for sharing your insights into the misfit economy. Und falls Sie weitere Informationen zu unseren Referenten und zu den NZZ X-Days wünschen, dann gehen Sie online auf www.nzz-xdays.com.